Welcome to the 401k Marketing Podcast. Are you ready to be the go-to expert in the retirement plan community? Listen in as we share ideas, resources, and best practices that you can use to professionalize your firm, demonstrate your authority, and earn more 401k business. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 401k Podcast. Today, we are joined by a very special guest, Jeff Kayajanian from Payroll Integrations. And he is here to talk about one of my favorite topics, payroll integration. So thanks so much, Jeff, for joining today's podcast.
Thank you.
Well, let's kick it off with, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and why you started this wonderful business of payroll integrations?
You're getting pretty excited about payroll, Rebecca. But it's a little more boring than that. But anyway, I'm Jeff Kayajanian. Thank you very much. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer and Principal at Payroll Integrations. Started in this business with Mutual Benefit Life in San Francisco, California, back in the late 80s. After that, I partnered with an actuary, and we built a small TPA and eventually sold that. I was a national sales manager for State Street Research. We were actually one of the first companies that were part of what is now known as Alliance Advisor Alliance at Merrill Lynch. We sold the first plan at Merrill Lynch doing that. And then we became a DCIO and built it into about a $2 billion a year business. And that was sold off to BlackRock. I was a Western sales manager for many years at the Hartford, and since then I've worked in the TPA side again, as well as building out and investing in and building out payroll integrations.
That was quite the impressive background. And I think we met when you were working at the Hartford, like 15 years ago now.
That's don't age me as much as that, but yes, that's about it. That's about it. Exactly.
Well, when you know, with all of this different varying background, TPA side, DCIO side, record keeper side, sounds like you saw there was some sort of opportunity. So what problem did you set out to solve when you started Payroll Integrations?
Well, I didn't actually start Payroll Integrations. Payroll Integrations was started by two people up in Sunnyvale, California, Andrew Hallengren and Doug Sabella. Both are still here. One is the Chief Technology Officer or Chief Product Officer, and Doug Sabella is our CEO. Payroll is one of the worst things that people get involved with. And with record keepers in particular, they don't necessarily concern themselves with payroll until things go wrong. In fact, when you're selling, at the Hartford, my division would sell over 750 plans per year, but really nobody even asked about payroll until the end of the application. And then the TPA or the wholesaler would say, oh, by the way, what payroll company are you with? Mm-hmm. But the reality is that it's the most important part of the whole record keeping experience, because without correct and timely data, record keepers can't do their job, and then plan sponsors start getting angry and participants get even angrier. So what they looked at was, how can we automate the whole payroll system? And they looked at not only the 401k market, but also the benefits market as well. And what they saw was, the two people that are doing, or the two companies that are doing it properly, are really ADP payroll, as well as ADP 401k and Paychex, because they both have proprietary products, and they could, as they say, have the payroll talk to the 401k, and which would eliminate the amount of time and effort that a payroll person at a plan sponsor would have to put into uploading information to the record keeper and then downloading the return file back to the payroll company. As a matter of fact, ADP in some of their advertising says that a payroll sponsor, if they're not using 360 integration, can spend as much as between 60 and 100 hours per year uploading payroll and downloading the return file with all of the changes. And in an era after the pandemic, COVID pandemic, when you look at it, there's a tremendous reduction in the number of people in the workforce. There are employers are asking people to do 5 different jobs. And one of the things that people look at and say, this is the most ridiculous thing in the world, that I'm essentially having to use, Excel spreadsheets from the 1970s to upload information to record keepers whose technology dates back to the 1980s and 1990s. And we're in 2024, and people are asking the questions, why do I have to do that? And I might add that is one of the reasons that both ADP and Paychex have so many plans. Of the 650 or 700,000 401k plans that are out there, they have about 190,000 plans combined. And a lot, if not most of the reason that people buy from them is because they don't have to upload the information to the record keeper and download the information to the payroll sponsor or payroll provider. So what we looked at was, how can we make this simple? How can we take essentially what those 2 payroll companies did with their proprietary 401ks and take it out to all of the other 401k providers that are out there?
So I'll give you guys a little inside baseball on that 60 to 100 hours per year per company. Could you imagine talking to your director of HR and saying, hey, who's already time strapped as can be, let me share an idea on how I could save you 60 to 100 hours per year. Like, what an amazing conversation. I know we have here at 401k Marketing, we have a small team, and every 2 weeks, we run QuickBooks, which is our payroll. And then I'm not going to name names, but we pull up our 401k record keeper, and I have to manually copy paste. Most of us are salaried, but a couple hourly folks, and it changes every 2 weeks. And I check the math like 6 different times. Like, did I get all the literal cents correct to make sure it's, accurate with our match? And I get a little flutter in the heart every time I hit that submit button, because I'm like, oh, I hope I did it right. And that's, we're a small business, and that's being replicated for every single company that does not have a 360 integration.
You couldn't have said it better, or I couldn't have said it better.
It's a real world. I'll show you one day if you want. I'll blur out names, of course.
Oh, it's the most, you literally don't have to sell the plan sponsor or the payroll person on adopting our 360 integration platform, because they hate what they do. About an 800 person company in San Diego, but their home office is in Boston. Head of HR said, well, I don't understand why I can be at 30,000 feet flying back to our home office in Boston and be streaming a Netflix video, and I have to use Excel spreadsheets to upload information to our payroll or to our 401k plan, and then back down to our payroll company. It just doesn't make any sense. And the reality is the new companies that are out there, the companies that have been built on 21st century architecture, such as the Vestwells, the Ubiquities, the Betterments, and the human interests, the first thing that they do is they try to get integration, as opposed to using an organization like ours, though we've done business with all of those companies that I just mentioned. So it is a big hassle for plan sponsors, and there's they are revolting and saying, we need to automate this process. And it's not only with us, the benefit side of the business, the health insurance, life insurance, pet insurance, 529 business, all of that is done in an even more archaic manner when they're sending data up to the different insurance vendors.
So let's talk about today's fee-sensitive world, and it's particularly here in the retirement plan industry. How much would an API like integration like this potentially cost an employer?
One employer would never have an API, so it's really just the payroll companies, and there's some record keepers that are discussing trying to build out APIs, but it really hasn't happened as some of the major record keepers, but it really hasn't happened as of yet. So essentially, what an employer would not be able to build it themselves, but an employer would build what's called an SFTP relationship with a record keeper and the payroll company. But unfortunately, what you look at is those are all custom builds, and there's nothing worse than taking 4 to 6, sometimes 8 months to build out a custom integration, and in many cases, it costs tens of thousands of dollars to be able to do that. And then the payroll company will then add on anywhere from 50 cents to $2 per employee per payroll to allow the company to access the data on a 360 via 360 integration. So it's extraordinarily expensive, and we always get people we get companies that are saying, our advisors will call and say, hey, listen, can you do me a favor? I heard about you from my Empower or Voya or Transamerica wholesaler. I just got a bill from this payroll company to build out a custom integration, and it's going to be $15,000 and another, $4,000 to $5,000 per year. What can you do it for? And then we tell them our story and what our pricing is, and they just say, done. Because we already have the integration with all of the payroll companies via the API. So that, let's say the plan is with ADP and Empower. Every day, twice a day, both you and I are on the West Coast, so that happens at 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. in the afternoon. We go knocking on the API at ADP. We look for a file. If there's a file there, we are going to grab it. We're going to encrypt it. All of our security is we're on AWS from Amazon. All of our servers are here in the United States, and every piece of information we send is encrypted. We then import that into our platform, and in our platform is the file spec for Empower in this case, as well as Transamerica, the Voya, and others, depending on who the record keeper is. It populates in our platform, so we're sending the information to Empower in this case, the same information in exactly the same format that they want, and we then send it up to Empower normally about 11 o'clock at night our time. It populates there, and the submission process is done. So the plan sponsor's payroll person has done nothing to do that. All they've done is run payroll, and we take it from there.
Oh, that sounds so lovely. One click solutions. I love those. It's so much easier.
We like to call it one and done, because everybody forgets that we're there after a while. We just become part of the plumbing of the payroll to record keeper submission process.
So tell us more about how your team is partnering. You mentioned a couple of different record keepers so far. So how is your team partnering with these record keepers? And if advisors are curious, like, hey, I have a client who is on the Empower platform or on the ADP platform, is that something that they just like call you up and say, hey, Jeff, can we link behind the scenes here? Or what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. We started with much smaller record keepers when myself and the individual that introduced me to Payroll Integrations, Chris Miller, who's now the head of PEOs at Emeritus, and Chris and I used to work together at the Hartford. When we originally invested in the company back in 2018. They were dealing only with small companies such that utilize the the Relias or the Schwab RT platforms.
Mhm.
Still a lot of them, but
Sure.
they were not with the major institutional. So Chris and I worked on our first one, which was, and we were just consulting the company, but we went to work with Mass Mutual, and after about 6 months, we finally signed the documents on a Wednesday. And we went out and spent the $9.99 plus tax on a bottle of champagne to celebrate. And on Friday, 401k wire sent something saying Empower has just purchased the Mass Mutual platform. So we had to go through the whole thing again, and it took another 4 to 6 months to be able to do it. But we finally, with the help from, and I'll just drop a couple of names, Rob Ayers, who was at Empower at the time, and then Chris Doucette, who runs national accounts at Empower, is an old friend of mine.
Yep.
They pushed it through, and we started with Empower, and then went to Transamerica, Voya, CUNA. I can go through all of them, but we have now over 40 record keepers that are out there, and quite frankly, most record keepers are saying, this is really table stakes. You need to have a 360 integration like what you can get with Payroll Integrations to be able to compete in the industry. But your question about, so what we did is we started working with the record keeping wholesalers. We would do divisional meetings and individual phone calls and Zoom meetings with all of their advisors, which is their clients, the penultimate client. And we've gone to national meetings and, just kind of built out those relationships, with the sales managers, the national sales managers, and the wholesalers. And they would they brought us business, and they brought us a tremendous amount of business. What then we've done is we've worked very diligently now with the TPA teams at the record keepers who are calling on TPAs and working with them. TPAs, they always get a bad rap, but they're accountants without any fun in their lives. But TPAs run the show in the smaller market, in that 500 and below market as far as employees are concerned. TPAs run the show. So what we've been able to do is we've been able to build out a number of different programs with TPAs, and are working very, very closely now with literally dozens and I would assume soon to be hundreds of TPAs that are out there. Because one of the great things about what we do is at the end of the year, as you probably know as a plan sponsor, it used to be when I started, you would receive this huge package from either the record keeper or a TPA and ask you to fill out all of all this information and be able to run the annual payroll census so that the TPA could start doing the testing for the plan.
Yep.
Because you know what it's like. And, normally what would happen is the first thing they would do is the plan sponsor would do is put that aside and say, I'll think about this tomorrow. Now they get email after email after email with that digital package, and they still put it aside and say, I'll do this tomorrow. And it's a big problem for TPAs. But because we are integrated into the payroll, with every payroll that we send, we also send a census. So at the end of the year, we have built it out so that TPAs can now just plug in. We have to onboard them, but they can plug into our TPA platform, see all of their plans, see all of the payrolls, each payroll of the plan, and all they have to do is push a button and run the annual payroll census, and it's delivered to them.
Well, I hope you cracked open that bottle of champagne.
Yeah. They're extraordinarily excited about that because now we're saving them an enormous amount of money and time to be able to on a timely basis be able to do the testing and file the 5500s.
Oh yeah. I mean, every year we have to log in, download the report, convert it into the preferred format for our TPA, re-upload it, get an error message, download it, save it as a CSV file, say some Hail Marys, some Our Fathers, get it uploaded again.
and then it's not right. And then the TPA has to call you back and say, by the way, the information was wrong. So you need to do this. And again, and it just drives you crazy. One of the other things that we've done, and record keepers are extraordinarily excited about this, and TPAs are even more excited, is we started something called TPA Connect. And what that allows us to do, in your case, you're with QuickBooks Online, let's say, but you're not utilizing our 360 integration as of yet. But a TPA can now go into can be onboarded, and then onboard your firm as a client. And since we already have the integration with the payroll company, but you may not be using us for 360 integration, or we may not even have integration with your particular record keeper. But because we have the integration with the payroll company, the TPA onboards you. It's about a 15-minute process, then goes into the same TPA portal, hits run annual payroll census, and has the payroll census in 3 minutes.
That's awesome.
And we charge $150 for that. And every TPA that we've talked to has said, we will absorb that cost and pass it on to our plan sponsor. And the plan sponsor would spend $500 or $5,000 not to have to do the work anyway. So everybody's excited about that. And that's good. That's something new that we've just started. And we've already got some of the major TPAs in the country on that.
That is awesome. So between payroll upgrading, saving that person whose physical job is to upload payroll censuses is 60 to 100 hours per year. And then when you actually have to do the annual review, not having that business owner or the HR person take that time out of their calendar, but for $150, it's all done for them with a one-click solution. This is great.
Exactly.
Well, Jeff, any last comments, words of wisdom to share with everyone listening in today?
Yeah, real quickly, as far as TPAs are concerned, and record keepers as well, that many of them are offering 316 services, and 316 services come in many different flavors. A lot of them are platinum, gold, and silver, and or A, B, and C. But the great thing about if a TPA is offering 316 services and an advisor is saying we believe you need these 316 services, then they really need to look at every single payroll, and through our TPA portal they can see every single payroll. So it enhances the TPA and it enhances the advisor talking about 316. And again, the last thing I would like to say is that we are looking across multiple verticals. We are looking, we're already in the HSA business, but we're looking at and building out benefits solutions as well. So again, it'll be that single sign-on, one client, one click, as you like to say, and a participant can see their 401k, their insurance, their 529 plan, their pet insurance, their with college debt, those things are being offered as well, and they'll be able to do that completely. And I think that's where we're going as an industry, and we're going to be right in the middle of it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate your time. I feel like I learned so much. Really excited to learn more about payroll integrations over the coming years and how you're continuing to solve real plan sponsor problems. Thank you so much for listening to today's 401k Marketing Podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of our guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of 401k Marketing. The content has been available for informational and educational purposes only. We hope you enjoyed.